a much better start for the week for the rand than it was last week, because we saw that rand going up to 7 rand and 7 at the beginning of last week, but it seems to have strengthened throughout the course of the weekend, starting today around 691, 692. Again, though, it looks like a dollar story here.
Indeed, on Friday we saw some disappointing data out of the US economy, which really brought about broad-based dollar weakness and in turn led to higher commodity prices and extended rand short covering. Rand bulls last week also took advantage of the fact that there was continued inflow of capital, of portfolio capital into the JSE and the South African bond market on the back of the fact that those PPI data last week came in softer than expected. And it also really cast doubt regarding this, the SARB's chances of hiking rates this year. Due to the long weekend, we could possibly see trading activity get off to a really slow start this week. But as the week progresses, RAND participants would probably look towards further clues for the Greek concerns about the Greek debt front. And even though we have seen that the RAND taking direction from broad global developments, we could possibly see the local trade data and GDP data pose some threat to extended rand strength this week.
Let's take a look at some of that, because it's a big day tomorrow. In fact, for the whole week we have lots of data coming out, but looking at tomorrow we're getting those first quarter growth figures, and we've seen retail sales for the first 3 months of the year. We've seen manufacturing and mining numbers. What's the market looking for here? We had 4.4% growth in the fourth quarter of last year. Can we maintain that in the first quarter? Do you think we might see a deterioration?
I think we're going to possibly see some moderation in that number. We're expecting a growth rate of about 4.2% for the quarter, and that's really on the back of the fact that we're seeing the mining and manufacturing sectors contribute positively towards GDP growth. So there's really some unbalanced growth going forward, while the growth trajectory going forward, given the fact that both those sectors were the main contributors to growth in the last 3 quarters. So we do expect that to come through for the first quarter of this year as well, but there is likely to be some upward momentum from both the trade and the financial services sectors.
Well, looking at the trade balance, and we had a 1 billion rand surplus coming through in March, and for the most part we've seen this trade number surprising to the upside towards the end of last year and even for a couple of months of this year. Can we maintain that surplus? Do you think we're going to see a deficit? Because it is quite a volatile number, isn't it?
It's a very volatile number, and it's likely that we possibly see a deficit come through again for April, on the fact that during March we saw the disaster in Japan, the tsunami and the earthquake, and with about 10% of our exports going to that region, we could see some pressure coming through from there as well as exports to the Euro region. So broad-based weakness in the export market and a fairly resilient imports during the month. So a deficit in the region of between 0.5 and 1 billion is what we're expecting.
Well, private sector credit extension coming out tomorrow as well as money supply, and those credit numbers have been disappointing the market, particularly on the mortgage side. The last reading, we had 5.1% growth year on year in March. Do you think we're going to see any improvement on that for April?
We're expecting PSCE to have improved in April to about 5.7% from the 5.1% that we saw in March. But as you mentioned, some pressure to come from the mortgage advances component, which has been slowing down, as well as the installment sales credit on the back of the fact that it's really a proxy for the vehicle sales market. And we did see vehicle sales come off sharply in April. So we're expecting those numbers to come in slightly weaker. But there has been some increases in credit extended to the household sector, which has been advancing quite nicely. So expecting an increase in the PSC numbers.